I want to go back actually to Stanford days, which is how you first became famous, or at least from my perspective, how I got to know about you, which is YT Instant. And
Mm,
the story here, for people who are not aware, is that you spent 3 hours building up this project, which was a play off of Google Instant. So you could type on YouTube and instantly see search results, and then that went viral. And then the CEO of YouTube at the time, Chad Hurley, offered you a job on Twitter, which you actually turned down. Um, and so I'm actually like, that's how I got to know you. I think that's how many people in the community got to know you. I'm curious, like that pattern of like kind of hacking on things and doing things outside of the classroom structure. Has that been something that you cultivated, or that you've always been that way? Like, where did that come from?
I'm trying to think of where it came from. I'd like to give you a good answer for why I did it. I mean, I have to think about that more. I don't know where it came from, but I do know that once I did it once or twice, that I realized it was really great, and I kept doing it
Yeah.
because I saw like I could do this thing, and by writing about it, by writing that blog post and actually going across the finish line, launching it, and not just like leaving it as a class project that sits in a folder on your computer that
Mm-hmm.
your TA and maybe like a couple friends see. Like going from that to like I just posted it on the internet, and now anything can happen. I mean, it might be completely, it might no one might look at it, it might just suck, but it also could, it has the potential for anyone to see it. And so if there's any merit in it at all, eventually that just gets discovered, I think. So, I mean, it is nice to be, it also is important to talk about your work, or to like post it to Reddit or post it to Hacker News or whatever. Just give people a chance to see it, and maybe they, probably they won't care, and it'll stay in obscurity. But there's a chance
Yeah.
that they will care, and you won't know unless you like just talk about it to a few people. And that's the thing I think a lot of people don't do for whatever reason. And yeah, I mean, I think I guess being comfortable with people maybe not caring about your work and not seeing that as like rejection is probably helpful.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where it came from, but I just know that like once you realize, you should just, once you realize it by putting things out there, that like you get these random, unexpected, like positive things that happen. Like I worked on site, like I'll give you, actually, you know what? This might be an answer for you. I worked on a website in high school, and it was I just took my notes from my AP US history class, and I posted them on a
Nice.
website. Yeah. And
Mm.
I was like, I'm going to put this up online because it might help people. And then when people started reading it, I stuck some Google AdSense ads on it and was making some money in high school, like a few bucks, but it was like really cool as a high schooler
Yeah.
to be making some spending money. But I left that website there and like didn't take it down and just kind of let it sit. And a few years later, it had like a ton more traffic, right?
Mm.
And if I hadn't like pushed the publish button and like let it sit on my computer until it was like really good, right? That wouldn't have happened. So what ended up happening is like I put out this crappy version of it. It was like a high schooler's version of a website. It was really bad, right? I think I used some CMS and it looked unprofessional and whatever, but I put it out there. And then like a couple of years later, it was doing like, I don't know, a huge amount more traffic. And then I thought, well, okay, I can invest some more time into it now. And then I improved it. So by like not being ashamed of like the first version and putting it out there, it gave me the opportunity later to take this like diamond in the rough, this like kind of cruddy looking website, but that had a lot of visitors, and like improve it. And then that made it get even more popular. And so that was the thing I worked on like throughout college. And it definitely was a nice like extra little source of income as a college student to help pay for that hefty Stanford education.
Yeah, basically, give yourself a chance to get lucky. That's what I always tell people. Is like the only way you can get lucky is if you put yourself out there and give yourself a chance to get noticed. Give yourself a chance to interact with really interesting people. And so I feel like you've done that again and again, and it's paid off in a really big way.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah, give yourself a chance to get lucky. I like that a lot. It's like if you don't even put anything out there, like you're 100% chance no one is going to care about what you did,
Yeah.
and it's not going to be interesting. And the other thing too, not talking about your work is in a way is selfish. I mean, like you can actually inspire people or give them ideas that they didn't have before. Even if your thing you think is kind of, it isn't as good as you want, or it could be better, or you want to polish it more later. But by holding that and not putting it out in its current form, you're like not letting, I mean, that's like, you're depriving the world of that, of your perspective, right? And someone could be like blocked on a problem and then they see your attempt and that just like unlocks something for them, right? Or maybe they are thinking about similar things and they see your like first attempt and then they come up and approach you and like now you become collaborators, right? And then you work on it together. So it's just, it's, you're just like preventing all these things from happening if you like keep everything closely guarded and closely held to your chest, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. The serendipity that you get from just putting things out there is so important. So I want to go now to the PeerCDN story. So you and a couple of friends did this really cool technology that people maybe didn't think was possible. It was kind of cutting edge with JavaScript. It got acquired by Yahoo. I think you were at Yahoo for maybe 2 years or so. Can you talk about your time at Yahoo and like what did you think about the big company versus, you know, the three of you hacking away in your dorm room?
It couldn't be more different. Yeah. So it was me and my two friends, Abhi and John, and we worked on this idea together for about 8 months. And we made a typical mistake that I think a lot of technical people make when they're trying to start a company, which is to think that if we make it and it's really good, then people will just come and use it and we don't need to talk about it. And it's funny because this is exactly like the opposite of what I was just telling you about, where you have supposed to put things out there. And I mean, we did a good job of putting out. So we built this prototype, right? And then we recorded a video of it and posted it and had a little page that explained the technology we had built. And people thought it was pretty cool that you could build like a peer-to-peer network of your site's visitors and have them all share the content with each other. So there was a lot of interest on Hacker News about it and people talking about it and trying to, you know, think about the implications of it. And you know, that was all great. But then what we did was we kept working on the tech and trying to make it better because it wasn't to our standards, and we wanted it to actually work faster and to not be as flaky. And there's a lot of hacks we had to do at the time because JavaScript was pretty immature and the browser didn't give us the right primitives to actually implement this correctly. And so we did that. And then one thing we didn't do, which is the most important thing as a company, is to like talk to your customers, talk to your users, and find out what they actually want. And so, you know, 8 months into this thing, we had like, I think we had 1,000 or so people who were trying it out on their websites as like the free version of it. And most of them were like tiny, like bloggers or people who just thought the tech was cool, but like weren't really using it to sort of save money on their bandwidth bill. And they weren't really truly using it as like a CDN replacement. They just kind of were hobbyists playing around with it. And so, yeah, we kind of didn't have conviction that there were customers out there, and we didn't do the work to actually talk to customers. And despite the like best efforts of like people who were advising us, telling us like, this is the most important thing, you need to be talking to customers. We just were like, no, well, we're just going to make it really good. And we just didn't want to do that work as kind of introverted technical people. And so, yeah, I mean, at the end of it, we got this acquisition offer from Yahoo, and it kind of came out of the blue. I'm not really sure how they heard about us, but they were looking for people to help join their video team and help improve the video player. And they, you know, talked about wanting to use the technology we developed to make their video player faster, which that was one of the things our tech could do in certain scenarios, is make the performance better. So we were like, we weren't too confident about our plans for like where to take it in terms of getting customers and stuff. And this just seemed like a nice a nice next step for us. And everyone. I'm
curious, like all three of you, John, Abhi, and yourself, you're like just out of college, right? Or like less than a year after Stanford. When you get that term sheet or like, you know, that offer from Yahoo, what is your reaction? Is like, how can were you like, let's accept it right now and just join Yahoo? Or was there like some big complicated process of negotiation and figuring out all the terms of the deal?
So there was a decently complicated process because it was like a full M&A thing. There was like a 60-page agreement, and we had to have lawyers read it. And yeah, I mean, it would have been easier if they just hired us and gave us like a signing bonus or something. But it was a proper M&A thing. So it was,
and real quick, is the reason that it was a big 60-page document, is that because you had investors who needed to be made whole, or was it just the three of you in like an acqui-hire situation?
It was just the three of us and we didn't have investors, but yet it was still a complicated process. And I think part of that is the bureaucracy at Yahoo was just unparalleled compared to anything I've experienced before. Yeah, it was. We were thinking about investors. We had people who were interested when we were working on it, but we just felt like until we had customers and like revenue and stuff, and we also had all these fears around like investors will like take control of us and like tell us what to do and stuff, which really isn't that true, especially at the early stage when you're just talking to like other angels who are like founders themselves who are running companies who just don't want to take control of your company but just want to be helpful and just share some of the money that they've made at their current company with like the next generation of founders. So we had some like incorrect ideas about investors, I think, and what that would do to us. So we never got them, and we just worked on this thing for 8 months and got acquired, which is pretty cool, a pretty cool outcome. But we joined the team, and like the first task that they gave us was we couldn't integrate our technology until we had updated the video player to make it kind of more modern. So they were using this Flash-based player. And so the first project that we worked on was creating an HTML5 video player. And so the first version just like was pretty naive. It was like a video tag with like some UI for the video controls and stuff. And then we enhanced it with this thing called adaptive streaming, which is the thing where like the video quality can change while you're watching a video. And so depending on your network conditions, like if you go through a tunnel and your internet gets like way worse, then the video quality can downgrade instead of the video just stopping and stalling. So we learned about that and like implemented that and stuff. And we never got to the point where things seemed like they were solid enough that we could even think about adding PeerCDN functionality to the player. And so we never got around to that before we all left. But
how long were you there?
A little over a year.
Okay. And this is 2014 Yahoo, like the Marissa Mayer empire at Yahoo, right? How would you describe how the company was? Like, what was your read on the culture and the efficiency and things like that at Yahoo?
So Marissa was trying to fix a company that had kind of like atrophied, I think, in some ways, right? Like she was, taking control of this website that has, tons of daily users who are using it, but that hasn't really like changed that much and hasn't innovated that much. And I think she was trying to sort of inject like a younger, like more innovative spirit into the company. Mm-hmm. And so one of the ways she tried to do that was by acquiring a bunch of companies to sort of get like high energy individuals into the company and like to kind of mix things up. And so she went on this acquisition spree around 2014. And so we were one of the like beneficiaries of that. I think we were one of, I think, like 30 or 40 companies that she acquired that year. Like it was almost every week that she was acquiring a company. It was really crazy. So we joined this existing team as a group of 3 people. And so like one of the things I think that didn't work so well in our case was that like it's hard for like if 3 people join a team of like 20 people, then like the 3 people are going to adopt the culture of the 20. It's hard for like the 3 to like change the culture of the 20, right? And so I think like certain teams were acquired that sort of took over areas of Yahoo that were really successful. In our case, I think we were more assimilated into the existing culture of the video team. And there were certain things that we fought really hard for, like using more modern JavaScript development practices and like being focused on speed and performance in ways that like they weren't before. But there was a limited number of things we could fight for because just as 3 people, you don't have an infinite amount of like energy and like political will to get everything that you like to make everything the way that you think it should be. So after a while, I personally got a little bit burned out trying to like improve things. And that's why I left after a year. I don't know what it's like now, of course. I think they've been acquired a couple of times since I left. I think Verizon bought them and then Oath bought them and now I don't know what is going on.
Who knows what's happening over there now. But okay, so now it's 2015, right? You leave Yahoo. And I feel like this is actually very interesting because you have so many opportunities. Like you have a pretty good amount of name recognition in the Valley at this point because of all your past projects, the acquisition of PeerCDN. You had done a bunch of high-powered internships, right? So like you could go and get a really compelling job offer at a big tech company. You could teach, you could do open source. Like, how do you think about how you spend your time once you leave Yahoo?
Well, I think I just wanted to be free from like people telling me what to do, or having like goals that are decided by like the organization. And so I just wanted to be independent. And while I was at Yahoo, I had the fortune to go to some JavaScript conferences, and I met some really cool people who were working on open source, a lot of like early Node.js community people, and they were really nice and really creative, and like it felt like something special was happening there. Like all the like all these like kind of new concepts were being innovated there. Like, there's like this excitement about things like streams, streaming all your data. There was excitement around this new database that came out of Google called LevelDB, which was meant for, it was meant to be used in Chrome as the backing for like IndexedDB. But the Node community was playing around with that as like a replacement for more traditional SQL type databases. And so there's all these modules and all this excitement around stuff being created there. And there were, it was just so easy to get started building networked applications. So you could build like, I'd never built anything as low level as like, an app that talked TCP to another app. But with Node, you could just require the net package and start writing like low level networking code in like this high level language. And so there were all these people experimenting with peer-to-peer protocols